Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are having a really good day. If this is your first time on my channel, my name is Sebastian and I welcome you guys with open arms. I do pop culture videos every single day, so if you're looking for a new messy best friend, you have found me. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, grab a snack and a drink because we gotta talk, you guys. I am going to be talking about the Pamela Anderson documentary and a Britney Spears Netflix documentary. So it is Friday night and I am home. I am folding clothes because, well, I'm recovering from a really bad middle ear infection and I'm an antibiotic. So I'm home on a Friday night. My husband is out in the movies with our best friend and I decided to just have, dinner and watch the Pamela Anderson documentary. And you guys, oh my goodness. I didn't know much about Pamela. I only knew, honestly, I only knew about Baywatch and the tape. Unfortunately, that is what I only knew about Pamela. But I have to tell you guys, also I'm folding clothes. I don't know if I said that already, but Pamela Anderson, I fell in love with her in this documentary. I totally fell in love with her. She is so incredibly smart and she has come through so much. She has been, she has honestly been treated like utter garbage and she has had to go through so many unfair things. And honestly, she has come out on top. She has not allowed the world to completely break her. She has not allowed heartbreak to completely break her. And she is coming out and she is starting her 50s with a bang and happy and healthy and loving herself. And that is so amazing. Everything she went through, I really highly suggest you guys watch it because there's a lot of things that, the general public, unless you're not a fan of somebody, the general public, they read a title, they read a clickbait title, and that is their impression of you. That is what they think of you. That is what they believe to be facts. They don't do research, unless they're a fan of yours, they do not do research. So what they read in these clickbait articles, that is what you are, and that is just what it is. So, and obviously I'm guilty of that because I didn't know much about Pamela, but I will tell you, you guys, that what she went through, especially with her tape, it was actually stolen from her. And instead of the law being on her side, she was prejudged and she was she was dominated by the reception that the world had of her. And unfortunately, they, her and Tommy did not win that legal battle. They decided to just end it because it could have gone forever. And even though this tape was stolen from their home, the people who stole it were legally allowed to sell it and to mass produce it and to make millions off it. They didn't make a dime. So in a way, the world owned her, and the world, because of this tape and because of, the Playboy and the Baywatch and all of these things, that was her reputation. That was her image. That was what she was about. And it did not matter, it did not matter anything. That is what she was about. And unfortunately, that is the character that was placed on her. So as I was watching this, I was so proud of her. I was so in awe of her. I was so it was a pleasure and a privilege to get to know Pamela Anderson on this whole new level. And as a non-fan before, I can definitely tell you that I'm a fan now, to see what a strong woman she is and how she handled basically being placed in this box that the world forcefully put her in. And it really got me thinking, of course, you guys know about Britney and about everything that went on with her and with the documentaries that were made of her. And the difference is that this documentary of Pamela is the one who did it. I believe her son Brandon, they produced it. They, you know, made sure that everything was okay. The amount of support that Pamela has with her two sons is out of this world. And mind you, their mother is Pamela Anderson, okay? Pamela Anderson, the blonde bombshell from Baywatch with the big boobs. That is how, you know, and the sex tape. That's how the world, you know, practically knows her. Excuse me, but it was so amazing to see her children in this documentary being so incredibly supportive and so loving and so respectful and knowing their mother's worth. That is something that I have to say was the most amazing thing to watch. And it got me thinking, of course, about our queen Britney and how, you know, in many ways, Britney and Pamela are are the same without being the same, you know, hocus pocus. You know, very different situations, incredibly different situations, but there's the same amount of media pressure, there's same amount of criticism, the same amount of prejudice and you know, false narratives and all these things. So in that way, they are kind of similar. But of course, Britney went through a whole different thing. So aren't my boxers so cute? So it was just so beautiful to see that support from Pamela's children that got me wondering. I was like, I can't wait for Britney to be able to tell her story. You know, in this documentary of Pamela, we really got to see Pamela in a light that she wanted the world to see her in. She said that it's nice that she's doing this because she got to tell her story in her own words. So it just got me thinking a lot about Britney and you know, I could, like, for so many times in the documentary, I would watch something and it would just, I would be like, oh my God, I wish Britney could do this, you know, because Pamela was saying things that we did not know. Pamela was saying things that, you know, we had our own narrative from the media. So it was so nice to see Pamela talk about it, how she wanted, and her truth. And I just wish that so much for Britney, because as a documentary is going there, they watch old videos of Pam and their dad, Tommy Lee, and just like different things like that. And you see in their eyes how proud they are of their mother, how of a badass their mother is for surviving everything that she had to survive. She was pregnant and in court trying to fight to take away the rights of these thieves to keep selling their private video that was stolen from their home. She was pregnant, okay? She's had to be the punchline of every joke in late night show, and the same with Britney, So I was thinking, I was like, damn, I think that this would be a really good idea for Britney. Of course, whenever Britney's ready. You know, Pamela's just telling her story and she's in her 50s, right? This happened years ago. So, you know, I think you are ready to tell your story when you are in the process of being okay with your past and in the process of letting the anger out. You know what I mean? That is when I believe you can actually talk about things. I can just picture, you know, this documentary being very, 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 very beneficial for Britney at some point. You know, you cannot deny Britney of her success. You cannot deny Britney of pride of what she's accomplished. And headlines and clickbait and false narratives in the press and being judged over an Instagram or, you know, speaking out and drama and blah, blah, blah. That is not what's going to define Britney. And I really hope that Britney has the last word, that she has the last narrative, that she has the last, you know, say in this, because it is her life, right? So, so I just honestly think that it would just be so nice for Britney. You know, this documentary of Pamela is on Netflix, if I haven't told you guys. And it basically follows her for like a good time. And, you know, she talks about all of her life. She talks about her ups and her downs, and it ends in what she's up to now. She was just on Broadway in Chicago as Roxy. So the documentary finished in a very successful note of Pamela, you know, everything you went through, everything she's done, everything we don't know about, and you're coming in another way, in another route, and you are actually healing from your past. Right now, because we're in the midst of what I like to call Hurricane Britney, and, you know, so many different theories, so many different conspiracies, so many different ideas of what's going on with Britney, and there is so much mystery. Of course, this is probably not the time for a documentary, but I hope sooner than later Britney can take over and finally have a word and a say in her own narrative, because your life is not to be, your life story is not for someone else to say it and to spin their own narrative and spin their own way of telling your story. You're the only one who can tell your story the way you want it to, you know? And Pamela did the whole documentary barefaced, no makeup, raw, real, you know, Pamela. And it was refreshing. It was so refreshing. It was so beautiful. And it was so nice to hear things from her words. And, you know, maybe one day, another Hocus Pocus, maybe one day we will get, you know, a documentary or something from Pamela, but from Britney. But, you know, until then, I guess we just have to sit tight and kind of see what happens, kind of see where, you know, where the story goes. But I'm very excited for that day to come, and I know that that day will come. But I think right now it is just, it's just too raw. It's too real. Princess, this is my Disney shirt. Whenever I go to Disney, I wear this one. But yeah, I mean, it was so nice. And, you know, the whole time I was just thinking about how incredible Pamela is. And at the same time, I was thinking, God, I want this to be Britney so bad. Like, I really want this to be Britney, to tell her story, to have control and say in her narrative. Like, that would just be so, it would be everything. So go watch the documentary. You guys will not regret it. I promise you, you're gonna love it. And tell me what you guys think, and tell me if you would want a Britney documentary. And I love you all so much, and I'm so grateful and thankful, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.